Thank you, everyone. This is Cindy at officially called I Am the Open Door or an open door, and it's Friday, and this is the hour that we have set the intention for a direct experience, utilizing the teachings of Helen Hamilton as they come alive for us within um, her book, Reality Check. And to begin, um, we're going to experience Helen for about the next 12 minutes. So let's see what happens. Here we go.
Just like to invite you in this moment with me to just stop what you're doing, just as you are here, to simply allow yourself to stop. And what does that mean? It means simply to let go in this moment of any intention, anything that you feel you have to do, and to let go of anything you want to become, any sense that you need to change or be better. Just inviting you into this moment where there's just a stopping, where everything just is as it is right now. And just allowing yourself to rest in this moment, where there doesn't need to be any change. Just as you're sitting, or however you're watching this, just recognizing that you can just stop trying to become, stop trying to get somewhere. You can just put that aside temporarily, and to just recognize where you already are. That perhaps your body and your mind and your experiences are always going to be a work in progress. Perhaps they're always going to be evolving. And yet they can evolve from your place of wholeness, your centeredness in that which is not moving and is not changing. How to do that? Just to let go in this moment, holding on to any thought too tightly, any sense that you need to be more peaceful, any sense that you need to be more awake. Letting go of any sense that you're not already where you need to be. Just giving yourself a few minutes while you're watching this to arrive already in this moment, as this moment. Noticing our focus goes to our body, to our thoughts. This beautiful moment is the fullness of what we are. If we just don't hold on to any concept or any phenomenon too tightly, we automatically become more aware of the space of our being. That there is something that is already here, has arrived. It's not traveling, it's not journeying, it's not becoming. And allowing yourself to just rest here with me in this moment. Experiencing the fullness of this moment. Trusting intuitively that your body will do whatever it needs to do. And you can stay always like this. If thoughts pass through your mind, let them pass. Letting go of all ideas about what it means to be awake, to be enlightened, and also what it means to be unenlightened. Just forget all of that in this moment. Give yourself some time off. Your body naturally recognizes and responds to the emptiness of your consciousness. And don't mean the emptiness of your mind. There can still be thoughts passing through. But just, you're not holding on to anything, you're just here. Just being that space in which your body is arising, appearing, thoughts are coming and going. The room itself that you're sitting in even is just here. And the room is sitting inside you. Giving yourself a rest. This is your safe haven. This is your natural state. Recognizing intuitively your mind and body respond to this stateless state of now that you are, that they automatically begin to relax. And what do you need here? Is there anything lacking here? Resting like this, what can disturb you? Attention may go to thoughts. Or you may come back to this moment. Has this moment changed? The fundamental essence of what you are, has it changed? Is it affected by any of this passing through it? Allowing the fullness of this moment. Recognizing the undividedness of your real being. The phenomena of thoughts, emotions, experiences, and even your body itself is just appearing inside the space of your being. This is the simplest and most natural state for you to be yourself, not to be zoomed in on any particular thought or any particular body arising in this moment. Just to be aware of the awareness that all this is happening in. Whether you call that awareness or now or silence or self, it doesn't matter. Just needs to be recognized that there is this spaciousness, vastness of your being, which is the background to all of your experiences. Your body is inside it. Your thoughts are inside it. Your experiences are inside it. And it's enough to simply notice this. So I'd invite you to, whenever you need to, whenever you want to just come rest here with me. Gradually, this will just become more and more effortless to notice this, and then more and more continuous. And at some point, accidentally along the way, you'll lose your ability to focus on only thoughts, only experiences. You'll somehow forget how to focus on mind. It will just be another thing that's happening inside you, but not to you. Thank you. Namaste.
Amy's going to read for us today. Question arises, is there a desire to share anything before we begin then? So, as is our habit, yeah? Screen share, and Amy will read. And at any given time, if any one of us desires to slow it down and sink into what is happening, what is being described, what is being experienced, the invitation is to just unmute. Don't assume that we're going to see your hand raised. So go ahead and just be part of the flow. You ready, Amy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Chapter 4, there are no forms or objects. Example 1, a wooden table. Let's say you have a wood table in your house. It is safe to say that nearly all of humanity would agree that you have a wooden table which is solid and has dimensions, color, shape, and a lifespan or duration of its existence. They would think anyone who said the table does not exist is a bit crazy. To begin to grasp the fact that there are no objects or forms, we must be willing to think in different ways. When we look at the shape we see in front of us with our eyes, we call it a table, and we believe it is solid and separate from all the other objects in the room. But is it really? If we took a powerful enough microscope and used it to examine the table, we would see that it is not so solid at all. First, we would see atoms vibrating, and then if we could magnify even more, we would see subatomic particles moving around, appearing and disappearing in front of our eyes. If we could increase the power of the microscope even more, we would see that underneath the smallest particles was nothing at all. We would eventually come back to the formless and intangible emptiness that is the origin of the table. Whatever solid object we put under this microscope would also eventually be seen to be this emptiness, this formless awareness. I'll stop and see if anyone wants to say anything or observe anything. You know, this is really such a great example of science meeting spirituality, isn't it? You know, and we also know that neutrinos, which are the smallest possible particle that can be measured or weighed, are constantly bombarding us. They're going through our body. There's something like 10 million every square centimeter or every centimeter of skin there go through every second. They're just constantly flowing through. Yeah.
I oh, Rana has her hand up, and there's something I think I want to say too.
I'm going to be very short here, but it just arises that seeing with the body's eyes is so limited. It is just looking at almost the wrong thing, right? Not wrong, but it's the body's eyes are not something I can trust to show me what is real. Thanks.
I'm hanging in direct experience. And from that viewpoint, what I wanted to express was that the computer is sitting on a wooden table. And I'm sitting holding what's being shared in the mind that accepts that it's true. And the eyes are landing on the table. And there is the sense of disturbance, contraction, upset, held in this feeling of a body. And it's a little bit like holding those two in the same place. Like, right, that's what I'm attempting to do. Like, I'm here. I fully accept the teaching. I've had some beautiful experiences, right? I fully accept the teaching that what my hand and what the computer is sitting on, and even my hand, none of this is solid. And I'm allowing myself to be in this experience of a solid table. And the experience inside the body right now is like attempting to take two very powerful magnets and have the two north ends touch each other. That's the way it feels in here as I am consciously attempting to hold those two I don't even know to call them ideas or experiences in Cindy at the same time. Wonder if anybody else. It would be
I,
very easy for me to step
I,
out of that, right? But Richard,
I love the law of one, as taught by Aaron Appy, because what it helped me to wrap my mind around, my finite mind around, is this is what one of 7 densities of existence we experience within the illusion. So in this density, the third density, we vibrate at a level that produces what we perceive to be flawless objects in our experience. But as we move up towards the 7th density, the density of the objects changes. It gets more and more transparent until it's finally just light, which is the reality. And so that idea of is another channel idea. The law of one was channeled through 3 people back in the 70s, I think, or 80s, and but it helped me realize that what we're experiencing in this dimension or density is just one of multiple densities that we experience as spirit. And as we experience as awareness, or infinite awareness. And this is the most difficult density, the third density, because of the solidness and the separateness we experience within this density. So apparently it's the shortest density in terms of years, but it's the most difficult. And that's why we come here, to realize and experiencing this density of our bodies and our thoughts and everything we experience, that is not what we really are. So I really enjoy the law of one, but I want to study it more and more, but I never seem to get around to it. So.
On the previous page, when she says there's really only one reality, there are just different perspectives of the one reality. And of course, ours is limited by the forms that we're in. So something that really helped me to understand this was when I read a paper, I read it like 20 years ago, and it was about quantum physics. And not only is this desk not solid, and there are subatomic particles moving around, there was this study that they put the wooden table in a room with no one in it, nothing else in this room, and looked inside and saw the movement, the movement inside, and then they brought a person in to look at it and observe it, and everything changed. The vibration within the table changed simply by having a human being observe it. And all the studies about plants, if you talk to plants or give music to plants, they'll change, they'll grow, that like stunned me, and it started explaining something that I think we all really already know. We already know this because we experience it all the time. You can be sitting at a traffic light and you'll feel something looking at you, and you turn over and you see somebody looking at you. Something changed in me because somebody was observing me. Or we walk into a room and we feel, oh, there's tension in this room. We already know this. It's just that We've been so conditioned to be more scientific and not trust what we already know. And then there was one more experience that helped change. And she's going to talk about vibrations a little more later, but my husband had this dream, his very vivid dream, where he was calling out to our daughter. He was calling her name really loud. He was in this woods and he was screaming her name, Megan, Megan, Megan. And then all of a sudden, he's felt this force come in. It was like this really force that had to slow down and contract itself. And she said to him, "What? I'm busy." And he said it was like she was moving so fast that she had to make a great effort to come into his way of being in order to communicate. So these are things that, even though if you read this without having any of these experiences, you would think this is crazy, but it's not. It's true. That's all.
Two quick things, because some of us were listening to Joel Goldsmith last night, and he specifically stated, he was talking about the resurrection, and he said only those that were of high enough vibration to see were able to see Jesus as he walked out of the cave, right? Because he was no longer in his dense organic body. And that really, it was, I even heard this audio before, but somehow that dropped differently for me. This idea that we're all, this power of one, which I had never heard of until Richard started talking about it. So be interesting to see what that happens for us in an open door, because somehow when Richard talks, Cindy listens. There's that Jesus, when he, after his crucifixion, he was still here, but in a much higher vibration, and only those that were attuned to that vibration were able to see him. And then I was reading the guides this morning. They said sort of like the opposite, well, not the opposite, but another version. This idea that when we make the decision to rise to a higher level of frequency, we, without, just by being sort of like that meditation, we retransfigure everything we see. It literally has to come in alignment. And that came up as you were talking about, and I had never heard of that before. It makes sense. But this idea that an observer is changing the frequency of a table is kind of blowing my mind a little bit right now. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to William.
Just as I put my finger on my lip, I think of that's my experience of life, the oneness. And what comes to my mind, attention, awareness, when you talk about observing the table. Son and daughter-in-law 4 years ago bought a piece of land and a old dairy farm in New Hampshire. And in this dairy farm back in the 70s, there used to be over 50 cows, milk cows. And they would play music with the cows. And when I heard about this, because here are all these empty stalls now, but I could imagine all of these cows listening to music, how that, just like the table, atoms would change. Those cows were changing the quality of their milk. And it brought back my own father, because he always talked about the milk cow. He called her my darling, which sometimes offended my mother. But like, well, who are you talking to? The cow or me? So again, I just think it's so easy to get caught up in the thoughts about, but really just this moment, right now. Wow. And that's what I sense, that life is happening right here, right here, right here.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it's the law of one and not the power of one. Law of one. And what Aaron Appy did, he applied the Hawking's principle of how to measure consciousness, which in his writings are primarily for the third density and when the law of one. So it's 0 to 1,000. So Aaron Appy applied the method of measuring consciousness out to the 7th density and the law of one. And he came up, so it went from 1,000 to 20,000. So actually we're from 0 to 20,000 hertz and our different densities. In this density, we're 0 to 1,000. But as we evolve within the illusion, our vibration ends up going all the way to 20,000 hertz. So just a little science and spirituality based there. And includes my beloved friend Hawkins. So
Us.
I'm moved to say this, that on another level, we think, this is my body, right? No, there's billions of things living that have a separate life of their own on your body. There's these little things that live in your eyelashes and come out and screw on your face every night. There's these billions of stuff in your gut, and sometimes I think that maybe we just evolved to be a host to these things. There's things living in your bed that eat the skin that fall off of you. So that's, there's another level of the microscope. And also, I like to watch YouTubes on quantum physics, and what quantum physics says is there's no reality to anything until somebody observes it, and they have this thing called quantum entanglement and spooky action at a distance. Have you heard of that? They take things that are two little particles that are like involved with each other and separate them out from here to Mars, and when one jiggles, the other jiggles, violating the speed of light, which is supposedly the big law of the universe. So I love to think about those things because it does free you up from this kind of focus on this is a hard table and this is my body, because that's, it's easy to see that that's not true.
Rana.
I am absolutely loving this discussion so much. And there's a line in here. The formless and intangible emptiness that is the origin of the table. So something has really dropped here in this clarity of it's just all emptiness. And then from that emptiness is all this potential to be seen from whatever dimension we're looking from. It can be a solid table, but then as I expand my awareness of knowing, that's where the microscope comes and what Pat's talking about, but I'm really getting this feeling of things rising up from emptiness. And that has been something that has been disturbing to the intellect for quite a while. So I'm not saying that the mind understands this. I'm saying that there's a clarity and an understanding that things come from the emptiness in a way I haven't been able to swallow, we'll say, before. So thank you.
Rhonda, if you're prompting me to share my experience with that, because for a long time, I mean, I can remember really understanding that my mind could not understand any world that didn't have objects in it. And so emptiness to me was vacant and lifeless. Until I began to really see more deeply that the emptiness, that's just a word that we use. And because that's actually a really dualistic word, that to say that something's empty, because the opposite is full. So it's an emptiness that's full at the same time, and it's beyond the mind's imagination, right? It's full and empty all at once. And the last thing I just want to say is when we did the meditation, I'm beginning to practice more and more with perceiving from the heart center, which is just another way of using words to say something that I don't really completely understand. But when I began, I thought about all of you meditating or in the open awareness with this awareness, and that our awareness shared together is all in the same place. And I noticed when that thought arose, my whole heart just opened up and became happier and fuller at the same time. And that there's nothing material about that. It was just an awareness that, oh, okay, this is what happiness is. It's recognizing the oneness. This is what it was, more full and more light. And that's just a form of perceiving with everybody. Sandra.
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. Because the word empty is not true. It's full. It's so full. Even the air that we think is empty is not empty. There's so much here. And we may not perceive it with these particular eyes. Although I have had moments of perceiving. I think I told you once about the lights I saw in the darkness that my husband said were not there, but they were there. So empty, when you said that, it resonated so well that these are words we're using. It just appears empty to the human eye, I think.
Well, I'm being informed. I'm being informed right now by the quote unquote, see if I got it right, the law of one. And so this idea that it seems to be dropping right into, I always talk about that Google headset, the virtual headset, but this idea that from my current vibration, I can't fully appreciate the emptiness, but I can choose to sink back into it. And then the vibration goes up and the emptiness is a whole new universe that could not be perceived from the denser vibration, except in those glimpses like Sandra was talking about. The law of one. William's hand is up again.
Well, right now, I seem to be aware of back in the 1970s with those 50 cows. And I and those cows are one. We're one. They're no longer, but they are one. It's like it's so much easier to, oh, really? I've always had this repetition of looking at this man. But now it's like, no. I and the cows are one. wow, that makes it so much easier. I'm just formula awareness. I love that. Thank you. And it's such a, my heart just, there's so much love in my heart. Even the word cow, because it brings up so many childhood memories. We had to milk the cow before we could open our Christmas packages. Over and over and over. I and the cow are one. Big blue eyes. They just fall in love with them.
Mm. Hmm.
So for the record, you know that An Open Door is the name of the book that was written by, man, what was her name? The woman with autism who created the humane
Temple Grandin.
maze, Temple Grandin. That's right. All about cows. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Probably has no meaning since the world I see is meaningless, but it's cool. So we try to read more than a paragraph in this hour, or is there more? Shall we read?
Let's go. Whatever arises out of this awareness must be the awareness, even if it looks like something completely different from the awareness. When all we start with is that one formlessness, as we proved with our self-inquiry, then how can we suddenly have two things? How can we have the awareness and a table? We cannot. It can only be that the table is actually the awareness, but looks like it is not. What we have called, quote unquote, table is really some wood, which is really some atoms, which is really a vibration, which is really the formless self. The table only seems to be real and solid because we have thought about it. We have sat around it to eat, and we have many memories and general thoughts about what we think the table is. We may remember birthday parties, romantic dinners, or chats over a cup of tea happening at that table. And so we keep the table alive in our own thoughts. So does the table exist out there as a solid lump of wood? No, it does not, because it is the awareness in disguise. Does the table exist in here, in our thoughts, memories, and dreams about it? No, it does not, because those thoughts cease to be when we are in deep sleep, deep meditation, or unconscious for any reason. The table vanishes when we do. When we are not here to think about it, the table isn't either. So why does it appear real to us then? Why is the world so insistent that the table is real and solid? It is because the atoms in it are vibrating at a similar speed to our hands, eyes, and senses. When something vibrates at a similar rate to what our human senses can pick up, we call it solid and tangible. We can feel it. It is hard and impacts us if we try to move through it. Barbara.
Okay, I have a question. Since the table is all atoms, are we all made of atoms too? Because yesterday, after listening to Gold's Joel, it was on understanding the body. I went to bed and my body disappeared. But I was aware of my body. I was aware of the pain. I was aware of all the chatter that my mind was going through. Do this, do this, do this. No, I didn't want to listen to the chatter until afterwards I heard that it's okay to go on the couch and lay with the heating pad on because it'll help you. But before, the ego mind said, yeah, do this. Yeah, you'll like it. You know, it was just giving me things that I didn't understand until I heard from a higher power that, yeah, it will help. And after I laid on the couch, I was gone. It took me an hour to fall asleep before, but I'm trying to understand this body. And like I said, when I had the pain in my stomach, it's like I was trying to separate it, but that wasn't working. So I just rested it and it was trying to merge. And every time the pain merged, another pain arose. And it's like, okay, I just got to get up. I just got to get up and do something about this pain. And it helped. But I've been having experiences like that it's unbelievable because already one time I had the experience that I went up to the washroom, came back, and when I sat on my bed, I couldn't see my legs. But when I put my body on the bed, my legs appeared. When I lay down, my body disappeared. So I'm wondering, we must be atoms too, aren't we? I have no idea. Just asking.
Well, does anybody want to take this question up? Barbara's asking.
I'll say something about it. I'm not an expert at this, obviously, but I'm going to refer to the law of one again. In the law of one, we vibrate at different frequencies depending on the density we're in. So we're all experiencing what law of one calls a third density, which means you're vibrating at different frequencies in each density. In this density, things appear to be solid or separate from us. And when you move to other densities, and in this density, the body is atoms, because that's what this density is made up. So in each density, there are laws within each density that we must adhere to. But realize this is all part of the illusion. So it depends on how big you want to make the illusion. So you can go down a lot of rabbit holes on this whole theory. So yeah, watch yourself because you can get lost in all this crap. So basically all one. So, but there are teachings out there to say the whole experience of being separate from source is numerous books have been written and philosophies and metaphysics have been set up to make us try to understand what reality is. And the law of one is one of those channel materials. And I'll also say Aaron Appy has done an excellent job. He has a whole series of videos on YouTube only about the law of one. So if you're interested in finding out more about it and don't want to read the books about it that were channel material, Aaron Appy does an excellent job of teaching what the law of one does. And but so as we evolve, as a species, we vibrate at different frequencies and different densities. And the law of one says we're moving from the third density to the fourth density right now. And this movement started in 2012. And we're moving to a higher frequency of being. So some call it the celestial happening or
Awakening, I think.
spiritual. Right. Yeah. So to answer you, Barbie, yeah, we are atoms, and these bodies we seem to be experiencing. But as our frequency increases, the body becomes more and more transparent. There was a movie out a couple of years ago with Salma Hayek and the guy with the broken nose. He has a brother. He made a lot of comedy. Anyway, the movie's about them experiencing this density. And in the movie, they show it to other densities where you can actually see through bodies. Some bodies are solid, some bodies you can actually see through. So it was an interesting movie.
What was the name of it?
What?
What was the name of the movie?
I can't remember the name of the movie.
I'm like imagining Googling movie about transparent bodies with the guy with the broken nose.
I think it's Bartem or something like that is his last name.
He has a brother that was a more serious actor, but a blind guy, very funny, very good. But anyway, they find each other in this density, but there was a place in the future with headsets on with a number of other people, and only the people that are having the same experience with them are real within this. Other people are not real. So it's an interesting movie. Line in line with the Course in Miracles, I thought, and the Law of One concepts. But it didn't get a whole lot of
Owen Wilson.
when it came out.
Owen Wilson, Kendall said.
Oh, that's a name. Owen Wilson.
Okay.
Owen Wilson and Salma Hayek.
Thank you, Richard, because I have seen a few of the Law of One tapes. Yeah. Got to check more out.
I'm going to try and just offer another, not a different take at all, just another one, which is what I think makes the direct path teachings so challenging for so many of us. The direct path would say the body does not exist. It's just arising in awareness. So everything that appears to be separate is not separate, and it really isn't anything. It's arising in the awareness. And so the attention, the perception, the attention shifts from the outside, or what is being experienced in the body, to what is arising in awareness. So your body is arising in your awareness, Barbara. It feels real. The pain is arising in your awareness. The colors of the body, of the hair, of whatever, those are arising in your awareness. But what is the truest and the realest is that you are the awareness itself.
And that shows up in me as a bunch of cows.
Exactly. It shows up to William as a bunch of cows. Nothing wrong with that.
So Sandra says that Helen has an answer in the next couple of paragraphs. Would someone like to read those before we close?
I'll keep reading if no one else
Okay.
wants to. Where are we? Okay, if an item, I think we're there. I think that's where we are.
Yes.
Okay. If an item is vibrating at a slightly higher level, we call it a liquid. An even higher vibration, and we call it a gas. If something is vibrating very high, it becomes out of the range of our senses. For example, something that vibrates too high for our optic nerves to pick up, we call invisible, which really means not visible to us. Infrared and ultraviolet light have been proven to exist, but they're out of our optic vibrational range, and we say they are invisible to the human eye. We can also see this in the sense of hearing too, as we know there are sounds and pitches that the human ear cannot pick up, such as a dog whistle. We call these inaudible. But if we were to use a camera or a voice recorder to record a specific period of time and then play it back, we would also hear noises and sounds that we could not pick up using our ears alone. There are, I will just say, this isn't in the book, but there are blind people who can see above the, the spectrum of the eye. They've trained their brain to actually see infrared, and they can move in the world doing that. So maybe this is a good place to end, as it's 11 o'clock.
I would just encourage everybody to read the rest of this on your own, because I think she explains it really well, what we're talking about or trying to describe here.
But
Because
Barbie, are you in a good place with it?
Yes, because I forgot to mention that when I went to bed, my feet always tingle. But I have numbness I got numbness in my feet because of neuropathy, and they always tingle. But this time I went to bed and it was no tingling. It was like vibrating. I couldn't stop. It was a different feeling that I had. I'm thinking that it was some kind of vibration, a different vibration I was in. I have no idea, but I enjoyed my experience, and I thank you all for the answers you gave me. I'm in a better place. Thank you.
Such
All
great
right.
questions. Really great. Every
I love
question
us.
is a teaching. Every question is a teaching. I love us too. Thank you.
Love you all.